Okay, guys, welcome back. Yeah, sorry about that little brief break there online. We had some people in the booth. Today we have Rob. Rob, what are you going for? Sugar-free? Sugar, what are you going
You
for
tell me,
today?
what should I go for here?
I go for sugar-free.
All right, we'll go with
yeah,
that.
Cool. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming. So, again, I've cocked up a lot of interest today, so you know what? Who better but you to intro yourself to the world, my friend? Go for it.
All right, yeah, well, I'm Rob Simons with Automotive Consulting Services. We're an engineering services firm. We serve aftermarket parts manufacturers and small volume vehicle manufacturers. And we help them with all things engineering. So a lot of what we do is emissions compliance. So we work with the California Air Resources Board and EPA, federal EPA, to help certify your parts or certify your vehicles. But we also do a lot of product development work. So designing products that you see here on the floor, powertrain products, suspension products. I've been in the industry for about 25 years. I spent 8 years as the powertrain engineering manager at Saleen, 12 years as the vice president of engineering at Edelbrock, and then 5 years running ACS.
I mean, what a star-studded career already, and he's only 31 years of age.
Yeah, something like that, right? Plus another 30 maybe.
So I mean, we're very privileged to have you on set today. Even just for me, just to kind of go through and better understand all the emerging trends and technologies. Like you said, it started out in Saleen. Tell us a bit about that. I mean, what did that look like? It's an amazing place, full stop, right?
Yeah,
So,
as a young engineer, it was kind of a dream job. I was a couple of years out of college when I went there. Started out my career actually with the Department of Defense, and then moved to California to go to work at Saleen. And we built the car from the ground up, the Saleen S7. That was, everyone said that it couldn't be done, build a brand new car and certify it with CARB and NHTSA. And we did it. It was a very small team on a small budget, and we worked like 1 million hours a day, 7 days a week for several years, and it's probably why I have a lot of the gray hairs in my beard that I do, but learned a ton through that process and definitely catapulted my career for sure.
yeah, that's amazing. So, talk us through the S7. I mean, what part of, what do you, so the S7, talk me through the car. So
Yeah.
it's what engine, what transmission,
Yeah.
what driveline. Talk me through that car in itself.
So, a lot of cars that you see out there are street cars that get homologated for the racetrack. And what was unique about the S7 is it was a race car, designed as a race car, that was really homologated for the street. So the experience driving it was unlike anything else, unlike any other supercar. It was just raw. It was, had a ton of horsepower. The suspension on it was just unbelievable. But it was a purpose-built race car that was certified for the street. So it was just.
That's insane. So what engine was in that car?
So it was a 7-liter V8.
Yeah.
Saleen specific design 7-liter V8. Initially normally aspirated, and then eventually twin turbocharged.
Yeah.
They had versions that went up to 1,000 horsepower.
Crazy.
The car weighed like 2,800 pounds. So it was an experience to drive for
It
sure.
had a sequential gearbox in it, right?
The race car had a sequential gearbox. The street car had a regular 6-speed gearbox.
Okay. IRS?
It did have independent rear suspension, yeah.
Okay. Any of that stuff, was any of that kind of, any changes to that sort of stuff? Or was literally a lot of that off the shelf? Because clearly there's
No, it was all a ground up design. Actually, one of my colleagues at ACS now was the chassis design engineering manager at Saleen. So we worked together for 8 years there. Derek Hartland's his name. And now he's our engineering manager at ACS. So he's got, 30 years of experience doing design work, mostly on the chassis and suspension side, but we've kind of turned him into a default powertrain engineer since he's been with ACS as well. So
tough luck.
Yeah.
So, talk me through that. So you're just building something from ground up,
Yep.
right? Again, early on in your career, you're catapulted to like one of the most iconic American cars ever. It still goes for obviously a hell of a lot of money today.
Sure.
So you're in there. Talk us through it. So on the back of our shirt we have this terminology, dream, right? So we dream about things.
Mm-hmm.
People at Saleen were dreaming of doing something cool. How does, and we'll talk about this through the phase of your career. like, what did dreaming look like at Celine? Was it pen to paper? Was it an idea? Was it a
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously
communication?
Steve was quite a visionary.
Great.
And he had a wonderful eye for the style of the vehicle, and he
Yep.
didn't take no for an answer. And
Yeah, I love
you know,
that.
a lot of people told him he couldn't do stuff, and you know, he didn't accept that, right? And he, you know, he drove us
So many of those
to accomplish
that do
things
that,
that,
right?
yeah, drove us to accomplish things that we didn't probably think we could accomplish on our own. And yeah, like I said, I mean, it was a trying time, you know, because it was just so intense, the pace of it. But I used to say in 8 years of work there, I got 16 years worth of experience because, or more, you know, 24 years of experience because we worked probably 3 times the normal 8-hour day that you would normally work at a regular company 7 days a week. So yeah, there was literally a time where we were working like 20 hours a day, nonstop.
And you know, like, put into perspective for people, you know, like Steve started this car from nothing. You know, the most expensive part to be innovative in this situation is literally, I mean, you know, just the tooling, the CAD design, not even the CAD design, right? That takes time, but you know, to go out and create an engine block that's specific to your engine, it's a $60,000 mold, you know, a tooling fee, you know, to run a small run. I mean, this is money, right? This is all
I
money, right?
I wouldn't, if you were asking me for financial advice, I would not tell you to go into the small volume car business.
That's what I'm saying, right? People don't understand that.
Yeah, it's definitely an aspirational venture.
Yes.
Probably not a financially
Good idea.
good idea. Yeah. As Steve used to say, building cars is hard, and if it was easy, everyone would do it.
I
right?
agree.
Yeah.
So talk me through this chassis.
Yeah.
Was
It's
it?
a chromoly tubular
Yeah.
steel chassis
Okay.
with bonded and riveted aluminum honeycomb panels.
bonded and riveted?
Aluminum honeycomb panels.
Aluminum honeycomb panels.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
For weight or for noise?
For strength,
or
and weight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so, obviously, you're talking about so the aluminium must have been panels because obviously you can't be cutting.
Yeah, no, they're
holes
just
into aluminium.
they're just flat honeycomb panels that
Yep.
get bonded in around the tub area.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And actually, we're going to get into that in a minute. You know, as we get further on into the conversation, you know, there's a couple of cars at Pebble Beach. I forget what the car is called, but they've got a 3D printed, obviously a 3D printed chassis, right? And it looks like a spider web. And,
Yeah, is that Singer you're talking about? Or?
Not Singer. The Singer's got one similar, but
Yeah.
it's another one.
Okay.
I forget what it's called. It's actually a California. I think it's a California-based company,
Okay.
right? And again, all of the A-arms and basically almost the entire tub is 3D printed.
Yeah.
And because of that, because it can be titanium, it's 3D printed, we can leave stuff out that, you know, that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
That was never an option when we're making aluminium, right?
Right.
So, which I'd love to talk about, you know, in a minute as well. So, okay, you've moved from there. You've moved into Edelbrock. I mean, what a great career at Edelbrock. What a great place to be. You know, always forging ahead. Great brand, great company. You know, everyone goes through their phases in different directions, but you were there through definitely, probably to me, I think, which would have been the best phase of Edelbrock, you know, through its period. You know what I mean?
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, Edelbrock's had quite a storied history, so I don't know if I would go so far as to say that.
Sure.
But yeah, it was definitely a fun time. You know, got to work with Vic, another icon in our industry. I've been fortunate to be able to work with a lot of icons in our industry, and you know, he was just an awesome guy.
Yeah.
Another visionary. Definitely empowered us to do the things that we were able to do, and it was just a fun experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, just such a great legacy. So, talk me through the process there. I mean, is there any, before we move on, is there any one product that kind of stood out to you in that period of time?
For sure.
You've made so many products, but maybe just one.
So, the reason I came over to Edelbrock was to start their supercharger product line.
Oh, cool.
You know, I did a lot of supercharger work at Celine because we had the supercharged Mustangs that I was responsible for as well. And when Edelbrock, Vic signed a deal with Eaton to become a distributor of the Eaton superchargers. He needed somebody to kind of help run that program. So that was originally what I was brought in to do, was just to start the product development on the superchargers.
Beautiful.
And then it wasn't long after that that I took over all of the engineering activities. But the superchargers were always kind of my baby and close to my heart. So if you have to ask me, is there one product there that I think I feel like I have my fingerprint on, it would have been the supercharger product line.
Yeah, makes total sense. Boy, do they make some good power, those 2650 kits, right?
They do, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful blower system. So talk to me about what life looks like today. You're a very talented individual. There's a mark on your back. Everyone wants to work with you. I'm so glad that you're available to all of us now, not just to one good company, but to many good companies. So thank you for that. Thank you for starting your company. Tell me about a typical client. What would be? I'm sure you got so many. Some are kind of and the good thing about yourself is you do handpick your clients, so you can say no, yes, or no wherever you feel like it. But I'm sure there'd be projects that you prefer, right? What would be a fun one? What would be a fun one if you were to go to work on Monday?
Yeah.
And I don't know, one of your team members would put a file. This sounds so old school, but put a file on your desk with a new job offer or a new contract offer of doing something.
Yeah.
I mean, today technically should just be a ping on your phone and go, hey.
Sure.
But you get what I'm saying. Let's add a little bit of drama to the.
That's a hard question because we do get to work on a lot of really fun parts. We still do a lot of performance parts that make a lot of horsepower, and of course horsepower is fun. We do work with a lot of vehicle manufacturers as well as parts manufacturers, and I still enjoy the challenge of working with complete vehicles and the process of getting them certified with CARB and EPA. That's challenging, but it's fun because it's challenging, right?
Yes.
So I don't know if I could put my finger on just one, but I think I like the variety, right?
Sure.
We're not just pigeonholed into just engine parts or just chassis parts. We're not just pigeonholed into one brand. We get to do everything from complete vehicles down to a flex plate or a fuel rail or whatever,
so cool,
right? We offer a variety of services. So while the compliance work is probably the thing a lot of people know us for because it's kind of our niche. We do offer a complete line of product development services. We've got several design engineers, so we can develop a product for a company from cradle to grave. We have a manufacturing engineer, so we can help you with your production process. Continuous improvement projects, quality systems, you name it. So we do a lot of different stuff. We do simulation.
Wow,
so
awesome.
that's really pretty fun, where you can simulate an entire engine in the computer.
Wow.
And start
itself?
modifying its design and see what it does. We can simulate airflow, we can simulate fluid flows, we do structural simulation to make sure your product is strong enough.
So let me quickly touch on the simulation.
Yeah,
people probably aren't aware. I mean, the technology that's required. I'm not saying the technology is in the software. I'm talking about the technology in the hardware that's required for the CAD software to simulate and all that sort of stuff. It's not just a regular computer that can do that, right?
Yeah, I mean the computers have gotten really good. So the level of computer that can run basic CAD software is probably something you can still buy at Best Buy.
Yeah.
But obviously it runs a lot faster when you have a more powerful machine. Yeah. When you start getting into the heavy simulation, it does require like multiple cores.
Yes.
What's interesting is the software companies now, even if you have like a 16-core computer, when you buy the software, like it only runs on 4 cores. If you want to run it on all 16 cores, you got to buy this other module from the software.
Oh, you kidding?
So, oh my God, it gets very expensive. So, that's another benefit that we offer to our clients is we own all these software packages that are very expensive.
Yes.
And not only are they expensive for you to buy and maintain, when maybe you only need to do a couple projects a year, but they're also very difficult to run. So you need an expert to run them. So on our team, our one gentleman that runs our finite element analysis, he has a PhD in mechanical engineering. The gentleman that runs our CFD and our 1D engine simulation, been doing it for over 40 years. He worked for General Motors and Chrysler. So, we have the experts on staff. We own the licenses for the software so that you don't have to, right? And, you may want to do 1 or 2 projects. You're designing an intake manifold for a specific engine, and you want to optimize the runner length and taper and plenum volume, or select the right camshaft, and you want to go through simulation, but for you to do that in-house, the software license is 40 grand.
Yes.
You got a $200,000 guy sitting at a desk to run it, that's 240 grand of investment.
Yes, yes.
Just to run a couple of simulations, or you can come to us and we can do one project for you.
Yeah, for free, of course.
For a fraction of that. But yeah, we're not inexpensive, but that's because we do have a lot of investment in people and tools. But it's it's to benefit you in the end. You're going to make more money with the product because it's going to be designed properly and get to market quicker with these tools.
Yeah, and again, like you said, go-to-market strategy is always fun. Faster the better, I guess. And it's funny because we at Speedmaster we use a lot of other than PCs that are designed for SolidWorks and whatnot. We use a lot of anything else other than our engineering department uses Mac.
Yeah.
And so what we've realized, lately we've been playing around a little bit in house, and I'll get you to touch on it as well. Is Fusion 360, which is very inexpensive. Again, great starting point. We've noticed that our marketing team now, they've got Apple laptops, or Apple computers. They all have Fusion 360 accounts, and not only are they starting to render images and have a good time rendering images, but they're also starting to play around and start to learn into CAD a little bit. I don't know what your take is on that, but do you think, again, are they never going to, be at the level of they need to be to, engineer anything?
Yeah.
But do you think even playing with something like Fusion 360 is a good stepping stone to like a SolidWorks or whatever's next, or to because some two different softwares are so different, are you better off just learning on a different solution? Just all those, in retrospect, of stepping stones.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, all the CAD systems out there are doing similar things, right? Some are more powerful than others. Moving from one CAD system to another is not an insurmountable transition. You got to learn the new language. You got to learn, they call things different things, and the menu picks are in different places. But the basic strategy is the same. I think where they separate themselves, the different CAD systems, is in their ability to handle large assemblies, and their ability to handle complex surfacing tasks. So for instance, like you mentioned SolidWorks. SolidWorks is a very user-friendly tool. It's relatively inexpensive on the scheme of CAD software, and about like 80% of the companies in this building probably use SolidWorks. Yeah. For that reason, we also own a couple of licenses of SolidWorks. Our preferred tool for CAD is Siemens NX.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's what we typically design in. It's about twice the cost as SolidWorks, but it's also about twice as powerful. So it really allows us to do the complex surfacing that's required when you're doing a cylinder head port, or doing the transitions of intake runners into an intake manifold, or the body of a vehicle, right? So and to handle large assemblies like a complete engine or a complete vehicle, it's used at General Motors to design their whole cars. It's not a DIY type tool. But to answer your question, like if I'm a young engineer and I want to start my own company and start fiddling on CAD and 3D printing and doing stuff like that, I've played with Fusion 360. It's awesome. Okay. It's if you talk about value in terms of what you get for what you're paying for it, it's absolutely huge, right? So, I think you used to be able to buy a license for like $500. I don't know what it is today.
I think they're under $500 for a license, and they even have introductory offers for like
compared to like $20,000 for an NX license.
Yeah.
That's a huge disparity in cost for still a sizable disparity in functionality, but it's not 40x. So it's great that there's tools like that available, so that people can get involved in engineering parts and 3D printing parts from CAD models and making drawings and learning that stuff. I think it's fantastic. Yeah,
that's epic. So all right, so we've got even if there's no young viewers listening, even for myself, giving advice. So if we hire interns all the time, so if I'm having a conversation with someone, it's like, look, hey, Rob thinks Fusion 360 is great. Have a play with it, test it out. You're California, right?
Yeah.
Born and raised?
Yeah. Not born and raised. No, I'm from Boston.
Perfect. So born and raised in Boston. What about schooling for this? How does that look? Is it is the curriculum still the same?
That's a great question, because I've worked with some amazing product development folks that are very formally trained. I mentioned I've got PhD staff on my crew. And I've also worked with extremely smart and extremely talented individuals that have been through the School of Hard Knocks and do a phenomenal job in product development and other other engineering tasks that don't have the formal education. So however you get the education.
Oh, great, so
however you get the experience, as long as you have the experience and you can do the job, I think that's fantastic. Is there value to an engineering degree? Of course there's a value to an engineering degree. Is that the only way to get that value? No. You can get that experience working under another experienced person that teaches you. You can get it by doing it yourself and making mistakes and learning from your own mistakes. So there's lots of different ways to go through your career, and I've worked with amazing individuals that have had different educational experiences that are equally as talented and brilliant. So yeah.
Okay, good. So it's good to know, because I wouldn't have expected that answer for a role that seems to require so much, like you said, really requires a lot of that. I figured the word would be learning, but I guess same thing. In when you're using the Adobe suite, whether you learn it online or you learn it in a classroom, the tool set's the same. You have an outcome that you want to achieve, and as long as you're using the tool set and you learn to use the tools, in the end, that's what it is, right? And so, same with CAD, right?
Yeah, I think the ideal situation, if I was advising someone that was starting their, just out of high school and wanted to get into this career, the ideal situation is a marriage of both, right?
Sure.
So, formal engineering education certainly provides discipline, it provides a process, it provides you with problem-solving skills that are very necessary, and then if you can supplement that with work experience, hands-on experience throughout your education, that's invaluable. That's why programs like the SAE formula teams that are at the universities, or the EcoCar and all these kinds of things. You see what they're doing at the iCar program at the University of at Clemson in South Carolina. You see what they're doing at the University of Alabama. These universities are valuing that hands-on experience in parallel with the classroom education, because there's no substitute for that. If you can be doing while you're learning and applying what you're learning to practical experience, that's the best way.
Sure. And I think it's best for that's typically the best way to learn, right? Muscle memory, physically and then mentally,
making mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Hey, I've stripped plenty of bolts early on in my career.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. So one other thing I'd like to quickly touch on. I don't know your experience, but hopefully you have an answer for me. All your answers are a rock star so far, so I want to keep pushing the envelope. We did hire, we had an intern for a small period of time, for about 6 months, who did work on an SAE program, right?
Yeah.
Those little formula cars they build. Are you familiar with them?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love for you to share it with everyone, share what that is, because some people in Australia don't have that.
Okay. So what is the Formula SAE program? Or?
Yeah. So just talk about it. So obviously, exactly the whole process, because you're starting you're learning your degree, and then that happens at the same time, and it's just so beautiful.
Just some background. So SAE is the Society of Automotive Engineers. So that's our professional society, kind of like a SEMA for engineers in the automotive industry, right? And they partner with major universities that have engineering schools, and they create a competition. And the competition is for students to build a vehicle and then compete with that vehicle in various driving and business competitions. So when they build that vehicle, it has to go and do an autocross, it has to do like a start-stop competition, but they also have to do a business presentation on the budget for their vehicle and their business plan for the vehicle. So it really gives them kind of a real world experience of what it's like, on a very micro scale, to build and market a vehicle. So they bring in experienced engineers to judge the competitions, and then they have various categories. So Formula Car is one of the biggest. When I was in college, we did one that's not even around anymore. It's called Future Car.
Nice.
It was Future Car at the time. So to give you an idea of how futuristic it was, we took a Dodge Intrepid. Do you remember what that was?
No.
Oh God.
I'll look it up.
So it was like the early 90s. It was like this big sedan. It was kind of whatever. And we made a series hybrid powertrain for it. So they used a 3-cylinder Suzuki engine,
Nice.
A Northrop Grumman motor, and a Northrop Grumman generator. and a big lead acid battery pack.
Epic.
And the controller was a Gateway 486 PC
Oh
in
my
the
gosh,
trunk.
486, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
and we had to integrate all of this to, the engine was coupled to the generator, which charged the battery pack, and then the battery pack, provided power to the motor, which drove the wheels, and it was all controlled by this Gateway PC.
Oh my gosh.
We won in 1995. We won the competition at University of Maryland. Go Terps! That was a hands-on experience that, coupled with our engineering education, allowed you to kind of get a feel for what it's like to work in the industry, work with partners that were, we were sponsored by Northrop Grumman and other major companies in the area that not only provided us with hardware, but provided us with guidance and tutelage and mentorship. So it was a cool project.
So wait, let me get this right. It's your fault that there's so many damn Priuses in
No,
LA. Is that what you're saying, bro?
I'm not saying that.
Is that what you're saying? Oh, it's
Trust me, no, I'm not saying that at all.
Oh, it sounds like it. No. So
you don't know me very well.
There you go. So it's pretty crazy when you think about it, right? And that's why I was just wanted you to explain that, because it is such a perfect program.
Yeah.
Right? So you hands-on, like you said, you've got the building, you've got the marketing portion, you've got the cost analysis, you've got the COGS, all of the above. And then when this intern came to join us, we're having these conversations, and like he understood that just basically the scalability of things, the cost of the item, what it costs to make, what it costs to sell, just full stop. You know what I mean? It was an amazing.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of intern and co-op programs. I really promote co-op programs. A lot of my clients have started to adopt them in-house. There's one of the most prominent co-op programs is with Kettering University, which is formerly General Motors Institute.
Wow.
And they have it as a required component of their education. So you can't graduate from that university without going through the co-op program. So that what they do is it's every other semester. You go to school for 3 months, you work for 3 months. Go to school for 3 months, you work for 3 months, all throughout your degree pursuit. So what's amazing about that is traditional internship. Someone comes for the summer, they're there for 3 months. They're pretty useless in the first. And by the end of the 3 months, maybe you've got them to where they're doing some useful tasks, and then they're gone, and you never see them again, right? What's amazing about a co-op program is they come in. First 3 months, it's basically training, getting them acclimated, figuring out what they can do, and getting them connected with a mentor. Then they go back to school for 3 months. Then they come back again. Now they know a little something. Now they're a little useful. And you kind of get them involved in different projects. Then they go back to school for 3 months. Then they come back again, right? And so this goes on back and forth, throughout their 4 years of schooling. When they graduate, you can hire them at the cost of someone straight out of school, but they're not useless like someone straight out of school.
Yes, sir.
They're someone with almost 4 years of experience working in your company, right? So that's invaluable.
And that's a crossbred experience, not just.
And when they go back to university and they're doing their classes, they can sit there and contextualize what they're learning and say, well, that's not how they really do it in industry. Or, we use that at my co-op job, but this is how we did it a little differently, and add value to the class.
Yes.
So it's great for the student, it's great for the company, and then now you got your hooks in a recruit. That when you hire them at the end of their degree, you got first dibs at bringing them on, and they're someone that's already gone through your whole training process. So it's amazing. The key to success with that, though, is having a good, experienced engineering staff that can mentor them. Because if you bring on an intern and you don't have a good, experienced engineering staff to mentor them, then they've got no one to learn from and to emulate, and they're not going to be successful on their own, just throwing them to the wolves.
Of course.
Typically, right?
I really appreciate that. So, and to your point, I guess this like you said, they've had 4 years of buying into your business. I mean, they've been part of that whole deal for 4 years. They know whether they want to be there or they don't. By then they're really invested or they're not.
We started that program when I was at Celine, 25 years ago. I have folks that were my interns, my co-ops back then, that now work at client companies, that work for OEMs, that work for amazing companies. They're doing amazing things, and they started, as interns and co-ops. So
yeah, and it's pretty phenomenal, because, like we said earlier, that the things that they're learning, they don't forget. That's the hardest part, because sometimes you're going to learn something you don't put into practice, and then typically you'll move on to the next subject or the next movement, and you'll forget. But the beauty about learning something, put it into practice, and then moving on, is that actually you do retain some of that information, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to not. So, yeah, cool. I mean, I know I've taken up a lot of your time today.
No worries.
I guess in closing, putting you on the spot here, but I don't know if there's any advice or anything that you want to share. I'll give you a prime example. It's a really cheesy one-liner, but it's got me through all these podcasts, so I'll throw it out there. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, let's do it together.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, Rob, over to you if there's anything.
Yeah, well, I think that's a really poignant comment, and it's been integral to my philosophy and success as well, because one of my greatest tools in my arsenal is not my engineering degree, it's not my MBA, it's not my big box of Snap-on tools, it's my Rolodex.
Yeah.
And it's my team. Right, so the folks that I work with, they have the expertise to do so many things that I'm able to, sell to my clients, right?
Yes.
And it's not just me that I'm selling to my clients; it's the whole team of experts. But also, like, we may not do what you need to do, but I'll know who to go to get that done, and that's the network, right? So some of us as engineers, and even myself included, tend to be kind of introverted. And when we walk around the SEMA show floor, it's mostly like sales and marketing folks here. And so, I also volunteer on the ETTN with SEMA, the Emerging Trends and Technology Network, which is our network within SEMA for engineers and product developers. And one of our biggest missions is getting engineers out from behind the CAD station, out from behind the computer, get them out to the SEMA show, get them out to events and network and meet people, because your ability to do your job is not limited to your own skill set and experience. It's limited to who you know. Because if you don't know how to do something, you can call somebody and they can either tell you how to do it, or they can help you do it, or point you in the right direction. That's how you succeed.
100% agree. And to your, like, exactly everything you're saying, and to your point, if you can't do something, you haven't got the Rolodex, then all of a sudden it's really pointless. So, and I'm sure, your Rolodex would be a very, very long, illustrious list of awesome people. Not as good as Diddy's, I'm sure, but it would be definitely one. It would be definitely an automotive excellence in that list. So, again, I don't know if I make the Rolodex, but I definitely make the one of the annoying customers. Maybe not the ones that you would turn to for any help, but I'm glad it is that way, because I'm just glad that you are one card in my Rolodex, which means that. With that one card equals like 1,000 epic cards, so I'm happy with that.
Well, I always enjoy talking with you, Jason. So
again, it's been Rob. It's been fun. Again, thank you so much, and hopefully we'll do this again next year, eh?
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, guys.